Gravastar is known for making things that look like they came straight out of Cyberpunk, and they just made their first lineup of mechanical keyboards, the 75% layout Mercury K1 series. Needless to say, with this design, it is guaranteed to turn heads. But what's really cool is not how this keyboard looks like it's generated by AI, but that it sounds really good too. Later on in the video, I will be modding this keyboard to see how customizable it is, so stick around if you want to find out how it sounds without foams. The most eye-catching thing has got to be this skeleton looking case. And no, Gravastar said it is not generated by AI at all. They also said that this case is made from an aluminum alloy, but that definitely applies to the top case only. The bottom case is made from plastic, and no, it's not cheap plastic. It looks and feels expensive. Just look at the amount of detail put into this bottom case, only to never see it when you use it, but we don't talk about that. There's also flippy feet to adjust the angle, but they make the keyboard look weird since it will not be flush with your desk if you do use them. You will find the wireless dongle slot here, as well as screws that hold the entire thing together. I want to tear it apart so badly, but yeah, we have more things to talk about first. There's also diffused RGB lighting that comes out from the bottom. I would have preferred it to go all the way around, on the sides and on the top as well. Gravastar went with the choice of having double shot PBT MX style keycaps with shine through legends at the side instead of the top. When looking at the keyboard from the top or when there is no RGB, these look like sleeper keycaps. These keycaps also have a gradient shade to them, which look unlike any standard keycap sets out there. Beautiful. I have to say though, feels kinda cheap. If I squint really closely, I can see slight sink marks from the injection molding process too, which is a sign of not only thin plastics being used, but also poor molding techniques. The Mercury K1 also has a push style volume control knob that unfortunately doesn't go all the way, and honestly, that's pretty disappointing. What would have been nice would be a roller style knob that rolls infinitely like a mouse wheel to satisfy the fidgety cravings. The Mercury K1 comes with a hot swap PCB with south-facing per key RGB LEDs. There's also an obnoxious logo with RGB lighting as well, not my cup of tea. I wished it had QMK and VIA support too. Did I also mention this keyboard is wireless? On top of Bluetooth, it has a 2.4 GHz connection through a dongle with a 1 kHz polling rate. And in wired mode, this bumps up to 8 kHz polling to satisfy all you Osu gamers out there. It also has a sizable 8000 mAh power battery that you can use for days. Speaking of software, Gravastar did do up a proprietary software to customize key presses. But wait. They most likely just referenced their competitors and made a similar software. Essentially, it's customizable to an extent, but when you want to do the fun stuff like caps word or mouse jiggler, you are out of luck. If you don't know what these are, chances are you won't be needing them, so don't worry about it. You will find basic customizations on this software more than usable. But how did they manage to make this keyboard sound so good? For starters, these Leoborg cherry pink switches are very smooth and light, with just 40 grams of actuation force and a slightly long pole 3.6mm travel. The PC plate combined with the long pole switch gives a high-pitched but well-rounded off acoustic signature. Typing is very consistent across the board and stabilizers are nicely tuned with no rattling or ticking. My only gripe is that the spacebar sounds too thin and jarring in comparison to the alphas. Taking apart the K1, I noticed that it uses a strange mounting style. I was told it's a gasket mount, but upon inspection, it's not really a gasket mount. Just look at this housing that fixes the plate onto the top case. Functionally, this assembly behaves more like a top mount rather than a gasket mount. There's also a bunch of flex cuts on the PCB and plate, adding more bounce. And the layers upon layers of foam give it a very foamy and thocky sound signature. What's more, in the box, there are also... wait, that's it? No plates, no alternative switches, and no other keycaps? What? Yeah, unfortunately, because this is their first mechanical keyboard, Gravastar does not have alternatives to offer. You need to look for your own ones on the market if you want a different look. So, let's do just that. So I'm taking out all 5 layers of Poron sandwich foam. I'm going to throw on Oil Kings and use this Keytok PBT Morse code keycaps. These keycaps have a real retro vibe, and their unique translucent design keeps the RGB lighting unblocked. I'll put the links down below if you're interested, both for the switches and keycaps. To recap, here's what it sounds like out of the box, and what it sounds like after modding. Lastly, the price of the Mercury K1 is $130 which is appealing for budget gamers. They also have Lite, Pro, and the Cyberpunk Special Edition. They cost $90, $150, and $180 respectively, but since I don't have the physical copies, I'm not able to comment much about these other keyboards. But TLDR, compared to the K1 here, the Lite version seems to have lesser features and cheaper materials, while the Pro ones have better features and more complicated aesthetics. I thought the K1 was complicated enough, but they somehow made it weird with the Pro ones. Anyway, I'll link them down below, so do take a look if you're interested. You can use the promo code to get an additional 15% discount, which means it just costs $110, so why not? The Mercury K1 is great out of the box, and there's little to no tuning that you need to do. For its price, this keyboard is great value for money. The biggest complaint I would say about this keyboard is the lack of customizability. Honestly, most people buying this would care more about its unique looks than anything else. But you know what has better customizability than the K1? Click the video on the left to find out. Alright, I'm done. See ya.